When you think of Washington grapes, wine might be the first thing that comes to mind, and for good reason. Washington is the second largest wine-producing state in the country, a distinction we've earned through our ideal climate and a lot of hard work. But grapes made their way to Washington long before wineries gained popularity. The rich history of grape growing in the state spans 200 years. To really start this story, we have to go back to the 1820s when Hudson Bay Governor George Simpson carried grape seeds from England to Fort Vancouver, tucked away in his vest pocket. Dr. John McLaughlin, who ran the fort, planted them in the fort in its very first farm. McLaughlin also sent seeds to outposts throughout the region, where they were given to settlers for free. It didn't take long until grapes were growing all over Washington. Today, the state mainly grows two different types of grapes, juice grapes and wine grapes. Concords are one of America's best-known juice grapes. They were first developed in 1849 by Ephraim Wales Bull on his farm in Concord, Massachusetts. Years later, New Jersey dentist Thomas Bramwell Welch used those grapes to make a pasteurized, non-fermented wine for church communion. His son Charles turned that invention into the Welch's brand we know today. Concord grapes were first planted in the Yakima Valley in 1904, and they spread throughout eastern Washington. The region is ideal for growing Concords and other types of grapes, including those that are used for wine. When Concord grapes began to thrive in Washington, they helped spark the state's wine industry.
The wine industry is actually closely linked to Concord grapes.
Okay.
And you could say essentially that they helped put us on the map. They started us. Back in the early 1900s, there were little pockets of grapes, all types of grapes grown in the state, but very few European varietals, the Vitis vinifera. Most of the grapes being grown were Concords, Labrusca, American hybrids. There was a very small, but it was growing, but a very small little industry, because you can make wine out of any fruit, obviously.
Yeah.
So it was a little different style of wine than what we drink today, very sweet wine.
Out of the Concord grapes.
Out of the Concord grapes. And they just blended all the grapes. And things were starting to grow, and then came Prohibition.
Okay.
1919.
Reached it to a halt.
Put the brakes on.
Yeah.
But there were not wineries legitimately that could sell their product.
Yeah.
But it was a boom for grape growing in Washington state.
Really?
Because you could, as a home owner, make 200 gallons of wine in your home without a permit.
After Prohibition ended in 1933, Dr. Walter Clore arrived in Washington.
Dr. Walter Clore was the reason why we have such an awesome wine industry today. He studied the science of plants and plant physiology, and he was working with irrigated plants and crops. And he saw potential in our state as a premium wine producer.
Yeah.
And he went throughout the state and worked with growers and planted a few trials, few grapes here and there, and planted Vitis vinifera, the European grapes. Cabernet, Riesling, Chardonnay. You know, I think he planted in all about 300 different types of varieties.
In the 1970s, the Washington wine industry took off, due in large part to Walter Clore's research. The state is now known as a premier wine-growing region, and Walter Clore is known as the father of Washington wine. In 2015, the production of wine grapes surpassed juice grapes, and by late 2019, there were over 1,000 authorized wineries in the state. Washington's juice grape industry is still going strong. Welch's processes much of the state's crop in the Yakima Valley, where the juice is concentrated, stored, and shipped around the world. From the first Concord vines to today's world-class vineyards, grapes have taken root in Washington, and they're here to stay.